We're just testing as usual to make sure that the sound is working and everything is functioning fine. Looks like it is. There I am. Yes. Good morning, lovelies. It's such a wonderful morning here in Portland, Oregon. I'm sure it's a wonderful morning or evening or afternoon where you are. It all depends on your focus, doesn't it? Wherever you're focused, whatever you're focused upon, shapes your physical reality. Because your physical reality is an emanation, it's a projection of what is dominant within you. The combination of thoughts and beliefs that you have active, which is indicating a vibrational focus that you are currently aligned to, which is then drawing to you people, circumstances, and events that are harmoniously aligned with the vibration you're tuned into. And so there are several ways to know, there are many ways to know how you are tuning or what frequency you're tuned into, from most subtle to most coarse, C-O-A-R-S-E, and from most immediate to the greatest latency or delay. Those indicators are vibration, belief. So you can tune into vibration, but most human beings have difficulty doing that because they have sort of pinched themselves off from the ability to perceive vibration. But the next more easier able to access indicator of your vibration are your beliefs. But as you can probably guess, there are many beliefs that you hold that have receded into the background of your awareness, and so it's much more difficult to put your finger on what you're believing at any given moment, especially the ones that are having an impact on your life experience. The next one is your thoughts. So believe it or not, it's easier to perceive what you're thinking than what it is you believe. And so your thoughts are fairly readily available to your conscious awareness. And so you can determine what your vibration is based on the thoughts you're thinking. The thoughts you're thinking are not happening as a result of functions in the brain. In fact, in the upcoming Worthiness Wednesday episode, or it might be the AI and Spirit episode this week, I don't recall which one, but in one of those two episodes coming this week, there is a graphic that I show about the thinking process. So anyway, vibration, beliefs, thought. The next indicator of what your vibrational focus is how you're feeling, your emotions. Those are between beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. Emotions are usually the most easily discernible indicator of your vibrational focus, and that's why you have them, is so that you can realize what you're tuned to. But if you cannot access your emotion, then your physical reality is the best indicator of what you are focused on vibrationally. The challenge with, and this is so good, the challenge with your physical reality is it is a delayed indicator. It is a lagging indicator, meaning the vibration that you're focused on that turns into a physical reality, typically the reality that shows up as a result of the focus shows up much later. And so it's not the best place, it's not the best way to determine what your vibrational focus is by focusing on your physical reality. It's better to get back to emotion, or even further back to thoughts, or even better back to beliefs, or even better directly perceiving vibration that allows you to determine what your vibrational frequency is in any given now. It's so good to know this stuff. Okay, so none of what I just shared was I planning to talk about today. What I'm planning to talk about today is how people mirror your inner reality and why that's good. And the summary I put in the description of this live stream this morning, and by the way, every other Sunday at 9:30 Pacific, I get on here on YouTube and I give instruction. I share directly instruction from the positively focused framework so that you don't have to kind of read between the lines from a Worthiness Wednesday video that I produce on Wednesday, or an AI and Spirit video that I publish on Monday. And eventually, as more people find this YouTube channel and there is an audience for these lives, I will be answering questions directly for those people that have them, even if you're not a client. And in this episode today, I'm going to be talking about why certain people, and in the description I describe them as assholes, rapists, road ragers, the real extreme individuals, why those people show up in our reality, what that means, why it means that, and what to do about it. I continue in the description. Such people showing up in our lives is a very good thing. Understanding why they are good opens the door to such encounters becoming wonderful turning points in life, and that is accurate. So that the things you're going to walk away with after watching this video are, number one, you're going to know how such people come into your life. Number two, you're going to know why such people represent a good thing instead of it being a terrible thing. And number three, I'm going to talk about how to use the appearance of such people to amplify your ability to get what you want in your life, because they are, believe it or not, these people, the most negative people, or the people that push your buttons, are the most beneficial people in your life. So let's get into it. Number one, how such people come into your life. So I love this. This planet is a training ground for every thing that is here, including human beings. Here we are moving through a concentrated focus of expansion. And in order for that expansion to occur, there has to be contrast. I talk about this in every Wednesday in my Worthiness Wednesday videos. Contrast, what human beings typically call negative experience, is the rocket fuel that takes an individual from one given state of expansion to the next given state of expansion. So contrast is beneficial. Negative experiences are good. This planet is a very large environment, and there are very large numbers of spiritual beings that come into this time-space reality in order to have the expansionary experience that is represented here on Earth. But the large number of beings that are coming into this physical reality, they're not homogeneous. Sure, they're all eternal. Sure, they're all here to experience the joy and growth and expansion that's available here. Sure, they all come with their intents and expectations. But those intents and expectations from one point of consciousness to another are vastly varied. You could even say they're infinite. And as a result of that infinite variation, that infinite diversity, there has to be elements that contribute to the contrast for each and every one of those points of consciousness. And that's the case. So there are some beings coming into physical reality that in non-physical are very negative beings from a human perspective, very negative in their thoughts and beliefs and focus and vibration and momentum, etc. A lot of these beings that I'm talking about are beings who had incarnated previously in previous lifetimes as human beings and are moving through very intense contrast. And so they're coming back for another round of experience in order to continue their expansion. Those beings have to encounter a physical reality that reflects what's going on inside of them. And so there has to be circumstances, events, and people here on Earth that are a match to the negative momentum, the negative thoughts, beliefs, and expectations that they have within them. And that's why these really negative people you might call assholes, people who rape other people and murder other people, people who swindle other people, people who cheat other people who prey on other people. All these negative people exist on this planet because, number one, they themselves are a point of consciousness moving through their own expansion. And number two, they offer the contrast to others that is necessary for everybody involved to expand into something more. Now, we're on number one of the things you're going to know. How do such people come into your life? When you experience a road rager, or if you're on the left politically and you experience a far-right conservative who is lambasting you for being a libtard, or if you're on the right, far right, and you encounter a group of liberals who attack you verbally, those experiences are happening in your experience because there has to be something going on within you that makes you a match to that. I said that at the beginning of this video. Your life, the reality you're experiencing is a projection. It's a reflection of that which is going on inside of you. And that includes the people that you meet, the people you come into contact with. And it includes seeming strangers that come into your life and do something by coincidence, like people who have encounters with people who flip them off on the road, these road ragers. So these people are coming into your life because there is something inside of you that has you be a match to the experience you're going to have when those people come into your life. You create your reality. And they're showing up in your life so that you can do something about the vibration that you're emanating that has you a match to that. It's just like I was saying. It's so interesting. I wasn't planning to say what I said in the first 5 minutes or so of this video, but it perfectly set up this instruction. It's like I was saying, if you aren't aware of your vibration, or you're not aware, you can't access your beliefs, or you're not aware and you don't regularly access your thoughts, or you totally miss the purpose of emotion, then your life experience is going to be the indicator that's going to give you an indication of where you are vibrationally. And your life experience includes the people you encounter. Now, some of my intermediate clients really struggle with this. They believe that they want to believe that the people in their lives are separate beings interacting with them, and that my clients are not responsible for their behavior. But the thing is, if that were accurate, then this whole concept of you create your reality would collapse, because this you create your reality assertion means everything. You create everything in your life, including the experiences you have with other people, including the people you're having experiences with, which is why in many of my Worthiness Wednesday episodes, I have shared examples from my clients' lives where they have created better versions of the people they're interacting with in their relationships. They couldn't create better versions of the people they're experiencing in their relationships if they weren't the ones creating the versions of the people they're experiencing. And this includes strangers. So when a stranger shows up and that person is an asshole, or when your boss is an asshole, or when your spouse is being a dick, that's happening because you have something going on inside of you that evokes from that emanation that kind of behavior. So that's why people like this come into your life. They come into your life through attraction. You are drawing them to you as an experience in order for you to have the experience of realizing what's going on inside of you so that you can do something about that. And in doing something about that, those people will then change or move out of your life. Now, it's interesting. One of my intermediate clients, or she's an advanced client, early on in the practice, was totally oblivious to the quality of the people she had surrounded herself with. But after she moved into the intermediate practice, she realized that the people that she had surrounded herself with, her friends, were a bunch of complainers. They were people who whined a lot and did not appreciate the experiences they were having. That is normal behavior for a human being. But my client at the time that she entered the intermediate practice was wondering why she was surrounded by such people. And I told her that that was because she had something within her that had her be a match to that. And that was true. She herself often complained or negatively judged her experiences and the people in her life. And as she started to clean up those thoughts by paying attention to the emotions she's feeling, and then as she started to soothe the beliefs that she had that made her match to these people started to move out of her life. And one day she came to her session and she wondered, she acknowledged that these people had indeed moved out of her life and that other people were coming in that were a much better match to her higher vibration than she had previously. So I told you that story to support what I said before I told you the story, which is you are creating your experiences with other people. In fact, you are creating the versions of the other people you are experiencing. Why are you doing that? You're doing that because you're wanting to understand what's going on inside of you as a vibrational being so that you can do something about what's going on inside of you. And as a result, experience expansion. And as a result of that, experience better versions of the people you're interacting with. So we're moving on to number 2 of the things you're going to learn here. So if you heard what I just said, and if you're listening, you did, then you can see why these negative people, these people who are dicks and assholes and control freaks, etc., you can see why these people are a good thing based on what I've said so far. It's because these people are angels. They are supporting your expansion. They are reflecting back to you what is dominant within you so that you can do something about it. And when you do something about it, their job is done. So they will move on. So these kinds of experiences that you're having at the hands of other people, they're not really other people because they're not there in your life experience, but these experiences you're having at the hands of other people are good experiences. They're positive experiences. And what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to learn how to see them as positive and then get the positive benefit from them. Which brings us to number 3, how to use the appearance of such people to amplify your ability to get what you want in life. So here comes the instruction. So when you have an experience like this with a negative person, you have to move through a process that allows you to recognize and then amplify the benefit, the contrast the negative person represents. Now, in the positively focused framework, I offer 2 main processes for doing this. One is an advanced one, which I'm not going to share. The other is a more basic one, which I will share. It's not likely you're going to be able to use this process because it requires some hand-holding. My experience with this process is with every client I've introduced it to, it has required some hand-holding because it gets to the point in the process where a person who doesn't have experience with this positively focused framework practice or with being optimistic really struggles. Nevertheless, I'm going to share the process with you. Here's how it goes. So let's say you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off. That triggers you. And so now, when the person cut you off, that was the first opportunity to recognize that there's something going on inside of you that needs attention. But you're likely not going to realize that. And so you're going to want to, your belief, you're going to collapse into the momentum of your negative beliefs, the negative beliefs that had that person show up in the first place. And then you're going to when you collapse into the momentum of that negative belief, you're going to take action out of unconsciousness. Maybe you're going to flip that person off, or maybe you're going to honk your horn, or maybe you're going to scream in the car even though the person in the other car can't hear you. Or you might even get ahead of that person and try to brake check that person, which I've seen on a lot of YouTube videos. This process allows you to short circuit all of that. So let's say you miss the first response you have to the person cutting you off, which is you get triggered. Then you honk your horn. So that's the behavior that happens when you collapse into the momentum of your negative belief, not realizing that what's happening is positive. So your behavior, your full-blown manifestation unfolds. You're honking the horn. Once you honk the horn, you can activate this process because now you're using your experience. You're in the latent indicator of your vibration, which is your behavior. That's physical. It's a physical reality experience. So you can use that experience, if you're alert, to catch yourself. So if you were a client and you are literally having the experience I'm describing, I would say to you, now is the time to pull your car over, because there's a possibility that this may escalate into a negative experience that you don't have to experience. So you pull your car over someplace safe, and then you go through the following process. The first thing you do is you accept where you are vibrationally. And since you're probably not aware of where you are vibrationally, you can go up this scale of indicators to the emotion. And the emotion you might be feeling is anger, maybe even revenge. So when you pull over the car, and then the first step of the process is to accept where you are vibrationally, which if you can't reach your vibration, then accept where you are emotionally. So let's say you're in anger. The first thing you have to do is accept that you're in anger. Now, many people, when they're angry, they're also resisting feeling angry because they have a belief that says anger is bad, it's negative. They've been trained into that. And so they resist where they are. If they're angry, they resist being angry while at the same time being angry. That's problematic. That's why the first step of the process is to accept where you are. Accept the emotion that you're feeling. And you have to be explicit in the acceptance. So you literally have to say out loud, okay, I'm angry, or I'm pissed off, or whatever. I'm feeling rage, and I accept it. I accept where I am. I accept that I'm feeling anger. You don't want to resist the anger. I accept where I am. I accept that I'm angry. That allows the resistance of the state, the anger, to fade away, which allows you to be in the anger. That's the first step. The next step is to acknowledge what the anger is telling you so that you can get to the point of realizing that this anger is good. It's not bad. Every emotion is good, even the negative ones, especially the negative ones, because they're telling you something you really want to know. And so in the second step of the process, you've accepted that you're angry. The second step of the process is to remind yourself that this emotion, anger, is telling you something you really want to know. Now, clients have more background. If you're not a client, clients have more background in what I'm about to say than you do. So this might not make a whole lot of sense. It should intuitively, because this is 100% accurate. It's a fundamental principle. It's a fundamental spiritual principle that underlies how physical reality works. So in the second step, you've pulled over, you've accepted that you're angry. The next thing you do is you acknowledge the benefit of the emotion, and you say to yourself, this emotion is telling me something I really want to know. It's telling me many things, actually. It's telling me primarily that the thought I'm thinking on the subject I'm thinking about is not the same thought that my broader perspective is thinking on the subject that I'm thinking about. I really want to know that. And you want to know that because when you feel negative emotion, that's what's happening. You're thinking a thought on a subject that your broader perspective is not thinking. And so that discord, there's a disconnect between your broader perspective and you. And anytime there's that disconnect, you feel negative emotion. That's a positive thing, because the negative emotion is intended to have you true that back up, to come back into alignment with your broader perspective. That's the first thing the negative emotion is telling you. The second thing the negative emotion is telling you is if you keep on feeling that negative emotion, if you keep on focusing in that vibration that's generating the negative emotion, you're going to experience a future probable reality that you are not going to enjoy when it happens. And if you keep doing that, the intensity of the not enjoyment is going to increase. this is how people end up being victims of violence, is because they didn't recognize the upstream, less intense negative manifestation, which was trying to get their attention so that they can do something like this process. So the negative emotion is telling you you're not aligned with your broader perspective. Clean that up. And it's also telling you that if you keep on thinking this way, you're going to end up in a probable future reality that you're not going to like. Now, those two things are really good things to know. And so in the second step of the process, after you recognize these two things, you say to yourself, I really want to know that, because I really do want to be aligned with my broader perspective, because my broader perspective is guiding me to everything I want. And if I'm not aligned with my broader perspective, I can't hear the guidance. So once you acknowledge to yourself that this negative emotion is actually positive, you should actually move out of anger into a better feeling emotion. Something more positive, like appreciation, or maybe hope, or maybe positive expectation, or optimism, or pleasure. And when that happens, that's when you take step 3, which is beginning with an exclamation, amplify the shift that occurred. Recognize the shift that occurred from the negative emotion to the positive emotion. You say to yourself, holy smokes, or gee willikers, or holy shit, or wow, this is really good. And it is really good, because what you did is you shifted your vibration. Remember, emotions are lagging indicators. If you are going from a negative emotion to a positive emotion, you've shifted your vibration, because your indicator is telling you that. So you want to acknowledge that. You don't want to gloss over it. That's why I say include the exclamation. So you say, wow, look what I just did. That's amazing. And acknowledge the positive shift. That begins to move you away from experiences like being cut off on the road. So the next step, the fourth step, is to amplify the positive vibration you've now aligned yourself to. And you do that by speaking thoughts about what you just did. For example, wow, I really appreciate what I just did. Wow, that was easier than I thought. Wow, I just moved up in my vibration. That's why I'm feeling better. Wow, I really like feeling better. Wow, I can't believe that just a few minutes ago I was feeling anger and now I'm feeling relief. This is great. I really want to do this more often. So those kind of thoughts you want to be thinking. That's step 3 or 4, wherever we are in the process. After you do that, after you've talked yourself for a few minutes into this, you've amplified the vibration you found when you did step 2 or step 3. Then you go to step 5, which is to turn your positive orientation on yourself by expressing thoughts about yourself that express appreciation for what you've done and for who you are. And that sounds like this. I really appreciate what I just did. I just changed my reality. I really appreciate that. I did a good job just now. I short-circuited the negative momentum. I really like who I'm being right now. I really like how good it feels to appreciate myself. I so love myself. I so love my life. I so love me. I really love this experience that I just produced for myself. You see, when you get to this higher vibration, you can align yourself with the reality that you created this experience specifically for yourself, so that you can expand. And that's what this process allows. It allows you to expand. And once you get through that last step of appreciating yourself, you should be feeling deep appreciation or joy or love, self-love, which has you directly aligned with your broader perspective, because on the subject of you, your broader perspective is always in love. This is so good. All right, so that's the crux of all of this. I've moved through all three things that I said you'd learn once you watch this video. Assholes, rapists, murderers, road ragers, criminals, violent offenders, all of these people are here for a purpose, and the purpose is good. You don't have to have those experiences in your life, but you have, in order to not have those experiences, you have to tune yourself to a probable future reality in which those experiences don't exist. They'll still be on the planet. They'll still be in your reality, but they won't be in the proximity so that you have those experiences. In other words, for example, if you tune yourself into a high vibration, you still may encounter news reports of violent offenders committing violence on victims. You may even have some friends who are victims of certain circumstances. But it's kind of like the story I told you of a client in the middle of this live who had old friends move out of her life experience. It's the same thing as that. You will eventually go from having these experiences in your life to then hearing about these experiences in your life from your friends or in the news or something like that, to finally not having these experiences in your life at all. And that's the charmed life I talk about in all my videos. Okay, I'm complete. I hope you're complete. If you have any questions about what I just shared, feel free to put a comment in the comment section and I respond to everyone. And until then, I will see you in the next video.